My experience has been that when I take my foot off the gas on the recruiting, it puts me in a very dangerous position if somebody does leave. I mean, they will go to lunch and just never come back.
I actually had that happen before. Got up
Oh,
and said,
yeah.
I'm going to lunch, never came back. Historically, I always we had a deal with a vendor called Career Plug, but it was always piggybacking off of Indeed, LinkedIn, and then there was another one, ZipRecruiter. We used that. It used to be so easy. I promise you, coming into 2020, it was the easiest thing in the world to find just hundreds of resumes to try to get people. But then after that, it was like literally everybody became a ghost. And then mainly it was, more, if we were going to recruit, it was from an existing team member that we were trying to get them to send over somebody that they knew. Well, it's kind of like, having to put so many people through the pipeline in order to get one to show up for an interview and then to move them forward to hire. So we just kind of started using our existing team members to recruit their friends. But, right now, could reach through the computer and slap me. You probably would when I say this, but right now I'm not recruiting. It's really because we kind of have a family affair going on right now, so it's highly likely anybody would leave, but it's always possible.
My experience has been that when I take my foot off the gas on the recruiting, it puts me in a very dangerous position if somebody does leave. You never know.
Well, you pretty much this. I mean, and I say nobody would ever leave, and hopefully they don't. But you say you never know. You always know somebody's going to leave. I mean, it's inevitable. And
right. I just mean you never know when.
Yeah, when they're going to leave you. They're going to leave you when you're on vacation, or leave you when you've got something big that's got to close. And the most inopportune time is exactly when it's going to happen.
I mean, they will go to lunch and just never come back.
I actually had that happen before.
I have too.
Yeah. Just got up and said, I'm going to lunch, never came back.
It's a classic, really.
It's interesting. Why not just say something? But, people are funny.
I just saw that tactic on 90 Day Fiance. Have you guys seen that show?
No,
it's the worst. It's really not good. It's not good. But like my wife and I will watch it. But like it's all about somebody, from different countries, and they either come over here or they go over there, and they have 90 days to get the visa, and so they have a long distance relationship and they got to be together. Saw this one the other day, and they're like, she goes to like Colombia to meet her future wife, and then they go shopping for a food truck, and then all of a sudden, like in the food truck, she's like, I didn't think this out very clearly. And then she's like, what? And then she's like, yeah. And then all this is excuses about her having to go home. Then she goes home and she doesn't ever come back. That's a big time. That's a big time lunch break version. So how do you bring somebody up to the level of success that you expect?
Well, for one, I've always been a little overbearing on processes, and I'm trying to recreate that here in the transition too, because I wasn't able to bring everything over because some of it was on proprietary computers. But, I've always been really big on systems and processes, having everything written out to where, everybody knows the objective, everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And training has been the downfall of that because, where I always knew that most agencies, the CEO or the principal needs to aspire to run it as a CEO. And you need to be able to take a step out, and you need to be able to work, on your business and not in it. I have always had a problem of always working in it, and so we always had the processes and systems there, but being able to step out of production to like hold the new team members' hand so that they knew exactly what they do, they could mirror what you were doing, probably was something that I needed to work on a little bit more. Most of the time, I would say the best time that I ever did it, I had a gentleman that worked with me, and I sat him across from me, so I had my desk, and I turned his desk staring at me. And so for probably 6 months, all he did was stare at me. It was kind of awkward, but he heard every phone call. I mean, he saw every quote. He, got to sit and listen to every phone call that I made when I pitched a proposal. I wish that I could convince him to come work with me today, but he has his own agency today, does phenomenally well, and I love to say it's probably not true, but I would love to say that it was all because he had to stare at me for 6 months and continue working with me after that. From my standpoint, probably others that are in a similar boat. Systems and processes written down are great, but you really need to invest a lot into new team members and not just telling them what to do, but showing them what to do, on a daily basis.
And I don't sell yourself short. If he didn't leave the business after he had to sit across from you for 6 months, but ended up getting an agency himself, I think he did something good.
You're good.
Right?
Well,
You made an impact. So you brought up Teledudes a couple times. So I don't want this to be some Teledudes commercial or have anybody think that. Like, that's not the point. But
Yeah.
what the point is, we're real passionate about the process itself. Aside from the call, we don't need to talk about the callers, but let's talk about the process, because you coming in, how familiar had you been with internet leads or with creating this kind of process, right? Where oh, if I buy the lead, then this is what's going to happen. Had you had experience with that before?
I've always dabbled with internet leads. The problem always was the number of dials you had to put on them in order to get them. Always was. It was something that we could never overcome. Even myself. I mean, I couldn't do it either. How do you stay engaged with that lead even after you have called them 10 times and they still won't pick up? So what I would do, what all my team members would do, is they might call them a few times and then there goes John. John's just somewhere floating around that CRM that nobody's ever going to talk to John anymore. And so then you just flushed that money down the toilet. The thing is I would just crank up the lead volume until we would start writing something.
All right. Well, thank you. And we'll see you next Wednesday.
All right, gentlemen. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
All right. You too, Jamie. Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe, smash that subscribe button, like this video. Thanks for listening and watching. Take care.